time of the year when we collect all the cars launched over 2016. It's time for the Autocar Awards 2017, presented by Reliance General Insurance in partnership with Times Network.
This is the biggest awards we've had so far. We've got 30 cars ranging from the small Datsun Redigo to the very novel Isuzu D-Max pickup.
Yeah, when you say novel, that's just it. You know, these two cars are really an indication of how much this industry is really growing, it's evolving, and there's just so much in between.
Well, exactly, Renuka. With 30 cars, your job is not going to be easy. All the jurors have a tough day ahead. Well, I think nothing better to do but just to get to it.
We'll get to the SUVs later, but first let's take a look at the long lineup of cars. The Datsun Redigo, Tata Tiago, Mahindra E2O Plus, Mahindra KUV 100, the Mini Convertible, Volkswagen GTI, Volkswagen Ameo, Hyundai Elantra, Skoda Superb, Honda Accord Hybrid, Audi's A4, the Jaguar XE, Jaguar XF, Volvo S90, BMW 7 Series, Toyota Innova Crista, Ford Mustang GT, and the Porsche 911.
Time to introduce you to our jury. Now, a lot of you will be familiar with our jurors because they've been with us for the past many years.
Car historian Manvendra Singh, the fastest Indian Naren Karthikeyan, Editor-in-Chief Autocar India Shapur Kotwal, Autocar India Editor Hormaz Sorabji, and Editor of the Autocar Show Renuka Kirpalani. Then it was time for business. Armed with detailed information on each car, our jury got right down to the evaluation, starting off with the Datsun Redigo.
The interiors, of course, quite a step forward from the earlier Datsuns, I would say. The clutch is pretty heavy, and for a city car, you wouldn't want such things.
The engine is nice. It does the job for a small car. But I think a lot of things need a little bit of improvement. The gearbox is a little bit notchy to use. The steering really doesn't inspire much confidence. It's very, very light. So, the quicker you go, the less feel it has.
Next up was the Tata Tiago.
For Tata, the Tiago is a big step forward. It's a clear step forward. It's a much more mature car. It's much more refined, much more drivable, much more accomplished in every way.
Tata Motors with the new Tata Tiago, I think they've set standards in the segment. Obviously, the packaging is brilliant.
I quite like everything about this car, whether you talk about ride, whether you talk about handling, whether you talk about performance, the way it is on the inside. It's all quite impressive. And I think the best part about it is the value that it comes at. Packs in so much at such a good price.
Just the premiumness of the cabin for a car in this category. Really, it's hard to believe what this car is priced at.
And then it was Volkswagen's compact sedan, the Ameo.
Legendary Volkswagen quality is visible. Performance-wise, I guess they're looking for more economy rather than performance-oriented car, but fit and finish is superb.
This car's surprised me quite a bit. I think Volkswagen are finally getting India, if you see this car. They've done a lot to it. Volkswagen earlier had no equipment. This is now very well equipped. The interiors are top class. It's carried over all the Polo strengths into a much more value for money package.
And after that, the Hyundai Elantra.
I love the feel of the car on the inside. It feels rich, it feels premium, it's really well equipped. And I'm also pretty surprised by the way it handles. Normally we find some of the Hyundai cars soft at times, but this one handles quite nicely.
I think the new Elantra has set a benchmark in features for this segment. I wouldn't call it a driver's car, but it's obviously very comfortable.
I think this car has really surprised me in many ways. The overall refinement, the comfort, even the responsiveness of the engine and the gearbox, absolutely fantastic.
The Innova Crista was next.
What Toyota has done is they've properly identified what MPV customers want in this segment, and they've realized that it's more luxury, more comfort, and the car should be more car-like. They made it much more expensive, and of course that was the big question, would it sell in numbers? But of course today we have the answer. It's a runaway success, and that just shows people are willing to pay a lot more money when they know their money is safe.
I think Toyota is trying very hard to please everyone. And in trying to do that, I think they've actually made a mess of a very nice concept.
From the looks point of view, yeah, a little bit disappointing to be honest. But of course, Toyota reliability always sells, and that's going to be the plus points.
The battle for executive sedans began with the Skoda Superb.
I've driven all the Superbs since the inception of this car has come. I think it's a very refined car, and Skoda does give you that quality of luxury which I don't think in this price bracket other makes are able to give.
I think it's the one that really has carved out a success story for Skoda in this country. It's cut the barrier of being not one of the typical Merc, Audi, BMW, and yet doing well in the luxury segment.
And following that, the Honda Accord Hybrid.
So the Accord is an absolute mind bender, and somehow Honda really makes it work. We've been doing some fuel economy runs, and we're getting upwards of 17 kilometers a litre in the city, in our city cycle, on the car of this size. That's amazing.
So it's eerily silent when you start it up and once you get going. And honestly, it switches between modes so deftly and smoothly that you don't realize what's happening. The only thing is that this was a car that used to rival those entry-level, luxury cars. But I think this time around with the hybrid and the pricing, it's a bit tough.
Next up, the second-gen Jaguar XF.
It doesn't feel like it's taken a leap forward. Whether you look at it from the outside or whether you sit on the inside, you really don't know what's different. But I think in any other sense than that, this car you can actually say is exceptionally good.
Jaguar want to be the sporty luxury car amongst the lot. That's a place held by BMW currently, and they're making their cars sportier and sportier to drive. And this new car is a clear indication that they're getting there. It's really, really nice to drive.
And then the luxurious Volvo S90.
What a fantastic automobile in the sense that it's so refined. And I like the nautical touch. As a designer, I think they've done a wonderful job of how well the elements have fitted in this car.
Everything about this car just spells luxury, and even the way it drives. It just takes you from place to place in absolute comfort. You arrive unfettered, and I think that's the beauty about this car. It just does what it set out to do. It's so comfortable and so easy.
It was then time to raise the performance game with the Volkswagen GTI.
Well, if you put the price factor aside, it's a phenomenal car.
I'd say double yes. I mean, if you have the money and if you're looking for a fun to drive car, there's a reason these cars are called hot hatches. This is a car to go for.
It's a shame it looks very, very similar to the the normal Polo you can buy off. That's the only negative in this car, I suppose. But it's well put together, really, really nice and nimble to drive.
Bringing in American muscle, the Ford Mustang GT.
The Ford Mustang is such a legendary car, and just to be able to buy it in India, a big thing, I think. Okay, the interiors are very American, very plasticky. It's pretty practical as well. It has a huge boot space and so on. So, even in race mode, the ride is pretty okay because, I thought it would be much more harsh. But, overall, it's a lot of fun factor built into this car. So, yeah, full marks.
Iconic car. I've had the pleasure of having quite a few of them. But this thing is a different ballgame altogether. When you compare to the earlier classic ones, this is definitely a far improvement from American car design and handling thinking.
Basically, this car just makes you smile. I mean, to put it simply, pure entertainment. Whether you're talking about sound, whether you're talking about the way it drives, whether you're talking about the way it handles, it's entertainment.
And to cap it off, the Porsche 911.
missed that absolute razor sharp throttle response, but still it's incredibly responsive, phenomenal mid-range. Sound is a bit of an issue, but you know, a 911 is a 911.
Those were all the cars, but stay tuned for coming up ahead. The jury examines the SUVs. Welcome back to the Autocar Awards 2017 jury round. After evaluating 18 cars, the action moved off-road. Yes, it was time to bring in the SUVs. And here's the lineup vying for top honors this year. The Maruti Vitara Brezza, Mahindra's Nuvo Sport, the Honda BRV, Isuzu's D-Max V-Cross, the Hyundai Tucson, Ford's new Endeavour, Toyota's new Fortuner, the new BMW X1, the Mercedes-Benz GLC, Jaguar's F-Pace, the Jeep Wrangler, and the Jeep Grand Cherokee. The action started with Maruti's compact SUV, the Vitara Brezza.
Well, I was quite surprised with the Vitara Brezza. It seems to be quite a capable off-roader as well. Yeah, the packaging is quite nice, simple but nice, practical.
It is not actually an SUV, but it behaves and acts like one, which is for the use it's going to be done. It's an excellent vehicle.
It's really difficult to tell if the Vitara Brezza is a hopped-up hatch, a compact SUV or a crossover. It does well on the road, it can do well on a dirt track. I think it's a really accomplished compact SUV.
You know, it ticks off all the right boxes. It's got everything that you would want inside a car, feels the part that it's supposed to play, and comes at a good value as well. So I think this is really one of the strong contenders for Car of the Year.
I think it's a bit of everything, and I think that's really its appeal. It pulls from all directions. It's a great alternative to a premium hatch, a compact sedan, a full sedan, a compact SUV, and I think that really is how you can sum up the Brezza. It's really something that's so versatile.
Next up was the Hyundai Tucson.
Well, off-road it's okay. It's more of a car for the highways than to drive on these kind of surfaces. But nevertheless, it's a very capable all-rounder, I should imagine.
And if you look at it without your hand on the badge, this could rival a lot of German cars because it's got the performance, it's got the interiors, it's got the space, it's got the look, it's got the style. So it's got the feel-good factor.
Nice interior, nothing too loud, nothing too crazy, but nicely designed, a lot of comfort, a lot of space on the inside, practical, smooth, silent engine, it drives well, it does everything really well, like the Brezza. Both these cars are good.
The dirt track then welcomed the Toyota Fortuner.
Fortuner feels good on the rough road, handles it pretty well. The only thing is that a lot of what's going on under the tires filters through to you, so you feel a lot of it coming through into the cabin.
Well, as expected, it's really tough as nails, just pummels over everything. In fact, I think when the going gets bad, the Fortuner gets good. But you know, I think it could have done with a slightly higher luxury quotient, be it on the interiors or even refinement levels. So I think again, Toyota could have spent a little bit more money there.
Well, to me, I'd compare it to the last Fortuner because I've had a lot of Fortuners and I was very happy with them. They've performed extremely well in the rural landscape that I take them. And this car, surprisingly, I did not buy this car mainly because of its styling. I did not like the style of the car. It's too radical for a person like me. But surprisingly, the handling and the driving dynamics are far improved than the last Fortuner.
But could the Fortuner outperform the Ford Endeavour?
Compared to the older Endeavour, it's light years ahead. And it's right up there with the Fortuner. In fact, after just driving them back to back, which is, and especially on these roads for this jury round, you really can tell how the two stack up. I have to say the Fortuner is the one that feels more indestructible, the one that you'd find impossible to break. But the Endeavour has a certain level of plushness, be it the ride, be it the interiors and the general ambience. Even the steering is so much lighter, the engine is a little bit more refined. So not as hard as nails as the Fortuner, but I think a more refined package, and I think that's what gives it the edge.
The steering effort is amazing for such a big car. It's quite well mapped out, I would say, and feels pretty light when you're driving at slow speed, and then it kind of builds up at a higher speed. So that's a good thing. Good, very different to the Fortuner.
Luxury was added to the mix with the BMW X1.
The packaging is much better, so there's a lot more room. This is a much more mature, grown-up SUV. There's a lot more space. It's really practical, but surprisingly, it's really nice to drive as well. And I think it gets really high marks.
It is a soft roader, so really it's not meant to be taken on really rough terrain, and some of those sections are pretty rough. So I have to say, I did, let's say, tread with a bit of caution, but I think if you do that, it's pretty okay. It's got the clearance. It's more about actually driving on tarmac. That's what this car is about.
And followed by the Mercedes GLC.
As a Mercedes, it has the style and the elegance of it, the appointments and everything that you have for a Mercedes-Benz three-pointed star. It might be a style of its own. It might have the looks for an SUV, but as far as the ride and the handling is concerned, it's nowhere near an SUV. And for that kind of money, I'd rather be going for the cheaper options, which are much more off-roadable vehicles than this particular vehicle.
If you're considering proper off-roading, then no, this isn't a proper off-roader. But is it an SUV? Yeah, absolutely. Is it becoming a bit too soft? That's also a yes. But I think they've got a great package going. They give customers, luxury car buyers, what they want. They give them enough SUV feel and enough luxury on both sides. And I think that duality is what wins the day.
So overall, there's a real quality that this car oozes. Even the buttons, the finish is absolutely top class. It's very refined, very comfortable. Ride is very good. So really, on the luxury side, they've really got it, pretty well over there. But I think as an SUV, it's definitely more of a soft roader, and it's tuned that way.
Then Jaguar's first ever SUV, the F-Pace.
Well, the term Jaguar doesn't get me into the mode of four-wheel drive. But surprisingly enough, they have made a good attempt of making a four-wheel drive, rather a heavy vehicle. Probably will not see the use it's supposed to do. But I was pleasantly surprised that it performed quite well.
Well, for a first attempt at an SUV, it's, I think, pretty darn good. It's definitely got the sporting heritage. It feels amazing to drive. It's punchy, it's quick, it handles really well. And yes, it does enough off-roading to make it SUV as well.
And of course, who could forget the Jeep Wrangler?
It's what everybody looked at and made their own off-roaders. And when you take it off-road, you can actually feel that. I've been on this track that's been designed mainly to deal with soft-roaders, and this car's been laughing at me.
This car is all about emotion. It's got that traditional Jeep feel. It is very tough as nails. I mean, going over the really bad sections, this thing didn't feel it at all. But is it worth 70 lakhs? Definitely not.
Had the car been around 30 lakhs, I'm sure people would have been very, very keen to have this as their main off-roading car, and not one of these fancy SUVs.
And lastly, the Isuzu D-Max V-Cross.
Pickup trucks aren't really popular in India, and lifestyle pickup trucks like this one, which are targeted at a slightly more sophisticated clientele, are even less. But once you drive this car, it's so appealing. It has space, it has comfort, it has that SUV appeal, and of course you can carry a whole load of dirt or your jet ski or your go-kart.
I think it's actually a really practical proposition for our kind of country. People love carrying loads of luggage, and you have that space along with a perfectly comfortable four-seater cabin. I mean, it's quite amazing as to how plush this is on the inside. The seats are really comfortable. The cabin is really nice on the inside. And, you can carry half your house at the back.
That's it for the SUVs. Coming up ahead, let's take a look at the nominees for the Bike of the Year. Welcome back to the 2017 Autocar Awards jury round. And now it's time for some two-wheel action. But first, here's our prestigious jury. India's fastest track rider Rajni Krishnan, cross-country champion CS Santosh, Autocar India's consultant editor for bikes Rishad Cooper, and Autocar India's special correspondent Priyadarshan Bhavikar. This year saw a lot of action in the two-wheeler market with numerous launches. Our jurors whittled down that list to the three finalists. The Bajaj V15, TVS Apache RTR 200, and the new Royal Enfield Himalayan. On the track first, Bajaj's 150cc commuter, the V15.
It's positioned very well, the V15. More than a game changer, it's literally a game starter. There was no 150cc cruiser, so it's kick-started that segment this year, and it's done really well.
In the 150 segment, I think it does what it's supposed to do. Although the cruise speeds for this motorcycle are slightly lower than what you would expect, because there's a bit of a buzz in the engine as a package, and at the price point that it's at, I would say it's a decent motorcycle.
In seating comfortable is very good, and the engine also good. I think so. The brake is more important. I think the brake is more spongy. Maybe and the disc is little bit bigger. That is more helpful.
Up next was the TVS Apache RTR 200.
The RTR 200 comes in from TVS. It's literally their flagship bike. It's the best they've made till now, and you can feel that the moment you get a stride. If you're on a test track, you can feel the bike's sporting genes. It all comes together as a good package. Very good value for money. At that roughly 1 lakh budget, you get a whole lot of sports bike.
The quality you can see with TVS, it's right there. Everything from the paint job to the console to everything. It's a really good package put together. It's nice and peppy to be able to ride in the city and to be able to cruise as well.
In the handling way is also very good, but I feel only in the engine little bit vibration there. But the look is amazing.
And finally, Royal Enfield's adventure bike, the Himalayan.
Royal Enfield's done a great job on paper with the Himalayan, because an adventure bike in India is really, bang on. But Royal Enfield in execution, although the chassis is brilliant, but they've somehow forgotten about the engine.
I also think in terms of handling and performance, it could have been a little better. With the brakes are super important, and it feels like it's a lot of effort to get the bike to slow down. And also the motor, it's really noisy, and I wish it had a little more power in the motor.
I enjoy the handling ways and more comfortable also in the riding in that kind of bike. But only feel maybe engine not that much powerful also.
Well, it's been a tough job for our jurors picking a winner. The competition's been really close this year, but we've made our choices.
Well, you can join the process too. Don't forget to vote for your choice of Car of the Year and Bike of the Year. How you can do so, the details are on the screen right now.
And remember, the lucky winners can come and present the awards with us on the 19th of January. Yes, so block that date, because that's when the Autocar Awards 2017 will be. Do join us then.